at first, then your sponsors, and I kind of put my life in the back seat. And that was definitely one of the biggest mistakes, but here we are 2 years later, and I've learned my lesson that quick. I've learned how to kind of make everything work together, but also have success in each one. So getting your life on track, whether that's if you have a family, if you have a girlfriend, a fiance, a wife, you kind of get on the same page. You get basically on the same wavelengths on what you do. You kind of make everything work. And that's the thing. You got to have the fuel to make things work. And it's a whole system. It's a whole team, no matter how you do it, no matter what way you look at it. Now, I have a great support system through my family, my fiance as well. And we learned and grew on how to constantly grow. When I have to leave to go to a tournament, that's a big thing. I know when I do leave, the back home life is great, and it's going to be even better for when I do return home after a tournament. So I get back, and we just constantly are getting into the flow of things. So instead of riding a roller coaster, we're now getting on that level and staying on a level where it makes me a better angler. And it's not even the fishing side of it. It's just the off the water, behind the scenes side of it. So then in addition to that, we'll talk a little bit about the physical side of it. Now, there's a lot of stress on your body when you are fishing. I mean, we're out there on a water 10, 12, sometimes even 14 hours during the real heat of things in the summer, fishing from dark to dark. Being physically fit, being in shape, taking care of your health is a big thing. You hate to see someone go down in a season for a sickness or an illness or an injury. So keeping yourself in tip-top shape is key. Trying to eat as best as you possibly can is a big thing. You know, I know a lot of guys just think you should just snack on the boat. Try to eat some better meals, stay healthy, be a physical fit person on and off the water. And it's going to add to not necessarily your success catching fish. It's going to just make you a better feeling person. It's going to help you out in the long run. Now the skill set. So everyone kind of has a different skill set at every level, but I do feel like once you get to the top level, the highest level, a lot of anglers have a very similar skill set. You know, everyone knows how to skip a jig under a dock, roll a spinnerbait by a stump, throw a drop shot, throw a crankbait, and that's where you can now revert back to those first couple topics that I talked about, where you can separate yourself from the rest. When a lot of skill is very similar at top level, being up on your mental, being up on your physical, and being up on your outside fishing life is going to make you a better angler just because you can make it easier anytime you go fishing. So that's kind of how I break down, you know, what it means to keep your head in this game. There's a lot of things that constantly change, and it's key for you to stay on top of every single aspect and become a better angler. So let's talk about the different levels of fishing, and that's kind of where I got to see the last few years how it changes, you know, being from just your typical fun fishing with my dad over the years, then going into BFL level style tournaments, jumping in a Toyota, or first college, then jumping in a Toyota, jumping in some opens, making the elites. You see the change constantly growing over a short period of time. Now I say a short period of time, it's 10, 15 years, but in the grand scheme of things, how much I've learned in those years, that's not that much time. So when you start, no matter what level you are at, if you're just a fun fisherman, just wanting to go out fishing, there's a lot of things you can learn. If you're a tournament fisherman, say you're fishing BFLs, there's a lot of things you can learn at that level, but you're constantly going to progress over and over in time, and you're going to grow from level to level. So now there's the ranks, and it's ranking up. So for me, when I fished, let's see, it would be about 10 years ago. So before I went to college, I'd fished the BFLs. I was kind of fishing as a co-angler, jumped in one or two as a boater, and I was kind of like learning how to fish for one-day tournaments. Now, one-day tournaments are great because you can just go out there, try to catch the biggest bag of fish, and then move on, go to the next one a month later. As you grow and you start getting into some Toyota levels, some open levels, you start having to fish for multiple days. And that's where gaining knowledge over time goes a long way, because you have to pace yourself. You're not only fishing for one day, you're fishing for 2, sometimes 3. And then once you make the elites, you are fishing for 4 days when you are having a good week on the water. So it's learning that step-by-step process, how to do it, how to break it down, how to take each day and kind of grow more and more as time progresses on. Now, some of the differences of each level are also something you want to talk about. There's a lot of different types of fishing that goes on. So when you go to a one-day tournament, you might fish a little different than you would if you're fishing for 3 days or 4 days. Your thought process, your mental side of it, your game plan might be a whole lot different. But then there are times it could be the same. But when I'm going and looking at a one-day approach, I'm going to go out there and take a chance. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to put myself in the best spot of the lake. I'm going to try to catch the best possible weight. And I'm not going to really have to worry about saving fish, preserving fish, trying to think of a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, because I know I can go all in on that one day. So when it comes to going to the next level, you kind of have to think about those things and learn as you go. So now let's talk about going into how can some of the distractions in the industry affect the way you fish, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days. There's a lot of distractions. We have, as professional elite level anglers, we have distractions of working for our sponsors. And that's not necessarily a distraction. It's a great thing having these partnerships, growing with these companies. But the hard part about that is just finding the balance. If you want to go fishing one day, you might not be able to because you might need to go work for your sponsor. And that's key. Really growing with your sponsor is a big thing. So it's finding that balance, finding those ways to grow when there's other things going on. There's a lot more than just fishing when it comes to fishing on the highest level. So I try to figure out how to go about each distraction and take it step by step. Now, we do have other distractions in our industry. You know, we can go into forward-facing sonar. I know that's a hot topic right now. And for me personally, the forward-facing sonar topic is one of those things that I've learned to kind of block out. I'm not going to let that distract me. I'm going to work on being the best angler that I can be, and I'm going to utilize any of the technology, the pieces of equipment that I personally can use to try to be the best angler. That's what I want to be. I want to be the best angler. I want to be able to grow and do everything to my highest level of skill. And that might be using the forward-facing sonar, but I have no problem shutting it off, going back to my roots, doing what I grew up fishing, just fishing for fun, fishing in one-day tournaments. Have a lot of memories where I grew up fishing with my dad, and I might have just been fishing on a local lake, a local pond, where I might have caught a fish on a crankbait of a certain style, under a certain condition, a certain way. And I kind of keep that in the back of my mind where if I need to go do that now in my career on the elite level, I can go do that just on a different body of water. So it's kind of reflecting on your past and then interpreting going through in the future. So we have the travel. Another big distraction is travel. Fishing, you got to travel all over. The lakes don't come to us. The fish don't come to us. We got to go find the fish. We got to go to tournaments wherever they schedule the tournaments. And there's a lot of travel. It's a lot of time on the road. So